Residents of Deerfield and Mason, Ohio often frequent Cattell Park to spend quality time with their friends and family. This park includes playgrounds, a pond, walking paths, tennis courts, basketball courts, and pretty much anything a park would contain. And across from this park is a big open field where in the spring and summer, sunflowers blossom, making it the perfect location to take photos in. Now, instead of taking those Instagram-worthy pictures, you instead learn that your sister's body was found there. This was the tragic reality for 11-year-old Teresa Ellis.
My name is Grace,
And my name is Nikki.
and this is the story of Cora Ellen Durham. Cora her life was just full of joy and love and relationships that mattered more than anything to her. And she was 27 and she was a mother to a young boy who was 9 years old at the time that she passed. And she was just very bright and had a lively personality that was loved by so many. And so many of her friends and families are left with questions decades later, just wanting answers. A little bit, her sister, Teresa Ellis, is a huge advocate for her sister, Cora. She's been looking for answers for over 30 years. And with one of the many phone calls that we had with her, she describes her sister, Cora, as she was wonderful, very sweet, kind, always lit up a room, and very beautiful.
So to further understand Cora Durham, you must know that she was extremely family-oriented. She loved her family, she loved being around them, loved being around friends. And as you can see, she had a pretty large family with 9 other siblings. She was once married to a man by the name of Russell Frazier, and they shared a son together who too was also named Russell Frazier. Unfortunately, he was only 9 years old when his mother passed away.
More about the actual case. She was 27 when she was found in Mason, Ohio, across from Cattell Park on June 20th, 1975. She was found around 10:45 by a man mowing the field on Irwin Simpson Road, and she was found with no clothing and no personal belongings on her except for a single earring in her left ear. It was noted that her cause of death in the autopsy report was asphyxiation due to strangulation, which is lack of oxygen to the brain. And it was also noted from police that no missing persons report was ever filed.
So Cora was last seen by her common-law husband by the name of Timothy O'Leary. And a common-law husband, or just a common-law spouse, is just a boyfriend or girlfriend that you have been with for a long period of time and share a residence with. So Timothy O'Leary states that 3 to 6 days before Cora was found on June 20th of 1975, they were having an argument at around 2 a.m. in the morning. What the argument was about is unknown, but we do know that shortly after she left the house, where she went afterwards is also unknown, but she was found in Mason, Ohio. To note, Mason is about a 20-minute drive from where she lived in Norwood, or a 10-hour walk. She also has no connection to Mason, so we can presume that she was most likely taken there by someone else.
The timeline of events was roughly 3 to 6 days prior, which is June 14th to 17th, 1975. Cora left her house in Norwood and was last seen by her common-law husband, Timothy O'Leary. On June 20th, 1975, she was found in Mason, Ohio by a guy mowing a field on Irwin Simpson Road. And the investigators' top suspect, Larry Ralston, got incarcerated at the Madison Correctional Institute in Ohio on August 8, 1978, for similar crimes as Cora. Currently, the investigation is still continuing and it is open and active.
So on the left, we have a copy of the original police report from 1975. At the bottom is the report of the investigation, and then the top right would be the death certificate of Cora. So the police report kind of just states how Cora's body was found in the field. It also states the guy who was mowing the lawn and the phone call that was placed. Something that does state in the police report is that her bloodstream was found, or things that were found in her bloodstream were codeine, Valium, and alcohol. To note, Cora was someone who dabbled in drugs and alcohol leading up to her death. She was living a more transient lifestyle. So these traces of substances found in her blood are not necessarily something that could have been violent or done by another person for a means of control. It could have just been something she was recreationally taking. In the police report, it also states that they had a conversation with Timothy. We do not know the extent of this conversation and or interrogation, but we have spoken with family and they believe that there wasn't an actual proper interrogation done. In today's time, typically the significant other, especially if they were the last person to see them alive, would be the prime person of interest. They would immediately get interviewed, they would immediately get everything searched by them, but it seems as though in this case, this is not what occurred. To note, this case is from 50 years ago. So how the police handle their cases and investigations now is different to how they were handled 50 years ago. In the death certificate, it states that she was 26 years old when she passed. We know that she was 27. We have this confirmed by police and the family. This is just another thing that shows how police were not necessarily as thorough as they are today when it comes to investigating a crime.
So in October of 2025, we were first informed about this case through our teacher, Mr. Berry. Through October and December of 2025, after we picked the case, we obtained a plethora of information from coroner's reports, police reports, and family. And during that time, we were really just coming up with our own theories and putting all the pieces of the puzzle together in hopes of getting her justice and figuring out what happened. January of 2026, we were following up with all of our contacts, which was Detective Sean Embleton, who is working lead on the case right now, FBI agent Kevin Cooper, and also Steve Moster, who helped us out with coming up with new questions and just leading us with this case a little bit further. And currently we're beginning to develop our podcast outline.
We are in no way accusing anyone of committing the crime. We are only going off the information we have gathered from talking with family, talking to police, and looking at online articles and newspapers. To start, let's look at number 4, titled Samuel Legg III. So Samuel Legg III, otherwise known as Dr. No, during the 70s and 80s was a serial killer. He targeted prostitutes and he worked out of the Union 76 truck stop as he was a truck driver. We have no idea where Cora went afterwards, after she left her house following an argument. This could definitely be a possibility where she ended up at the Union 76 truck stop. Cora did dabble in prostitution, so this could be pretty possible for her. And then at number 3, we have Ralph Howell. He's currently deceased. He was a convicted killer, only convicted of 1 murder though, but suspected in 3 other murders as well. His victims were found strangled, naked, and some were sexually assaulted. Cora was found strangled and naked, which matches Ralph's disposal of his victims. Both of them were from the Cincinnati area, so proximity, they were pretty close to each other. At number 2, we have Larry Ralston, and he is currently serving time in the Madison Correctional Institute in Ohio. Ralston is interesting because he lived on the same street as Cora and Timothy. So he definitely could have just, by means of her living down the street, could have easily just taken her and have done something extremely violent towards her. His victims were also found in pretty much the exact same manner that Cora's body was found in, where they were taken from one spot and found in another spot, found strangled and found naked. However, Larry Ralston targeted teenage girls in a vulnerable state. So, for instance, a 16-year-old girl coming home drunk from a party. We know Cora is 27 years old. And we also know, or we can presume, that she was most likely in an angry state of mind. She left her house after an argument. She was most likely mad. So she would definitely not be the easiest victim to target. Cora was also found north of Cincinnati in Mason, Ohio. The rest of Larry Ralston's victims were found south to southeast of Cincinnati, so geographically, they don't align. I would like to note that Larry Ralston is the Warren County Sheriff's Office prime person of interest. This is most likely due to the fact that she and Cora and Timothy and Larry Ralston lived on the same street in Norwood, and definitely would have just been an easy target for Larry Ralston. And now at number 1, we have Timothy O'Leary, which is the common law husband, also the last person to see Cora alive. He's currently deceased. This is what me, Grace, and a lot of the family members believe could have done it. He was extremely toxic, abusive, and jealous towards Cora. He was the one that he was the main factor in putting her down the wrong path, taking these extremely hard drugs, going down into prostitution. Just he isolated her from her family and a lot of her friends, and he just was overall not a good person for Cora. He also couldn't give an exact date as to when she left the residence. He states 3 to 6 days beforehand. That's a long period of time that is missing. He also never filed a missing persons report, which is questionable considering, if that's your significant other and they were missing for a couple days, you would probably file a missing persons report. It's also to note, like I stated before, that he is the significant other and he should have been interrogated a lot more, but to what we know, he wasn't.
These are some of the newspapers that we found that were written around the same time of Cora's passing. It was found that 16 other young girls around the same time, same area, were all found murdered and disposed of in a similar manner to Cora. This led us to begin our geographical search of trying to hopefully find active serial killers in the same area and time that would fit and hopefully link Cora to one of them.
So here on the left are the last known whereabouts of Larry Ralston's victims, Ralph Howell's victims, and Cora's last known whereabouts. So the purple is Larry Ralston's victims. As you can see, they are kind of just interspersed throughout the Cincinnati area. Blue is the Ralph Howell victim, and that reddish-orange color is the Union 76 truck stop that Dr. Nell worked out of. On the right is the location of where all these victims were found. As you can see, the purple, all of Larry Ralston's victims were moved south to southeast of where they were originally taken, whereas Cora was moved north, matching more closely with Ralph Howell's disposal of his victims.
The autopsy report that we got said that Cora had many bruises and scratches and scars all along her body, but mainly her head and torso, meaning that she did put up a fight. Regarding the evidence, we found that there was a major discrepancy between investigators saying that they had gotten a fingernail from Cora, but they were telling the family two different things, that they had gotten a fingernail and the DNA came back inconclusive, and also that they never ran the DNA, which is a huge discrepancy between the two.
So here's another possibility that could have occurred. It's a potential gang connection between Cora, Timothy, and the Mississippi drug ring, also known as the Black Tuna Gang. So this gang specialized in drug trafficking. Drug trafficking is the illegal distribution, cultivating, creating, and sale of drugs. We know that Cora and Timothy bought drugs from this gang and potentially could have worked in this gang too, but like bottom tier of the hierarchy. Something that we also know about this gang is that they are not afraid to turn to violence to take someone out who either knows too much about their gang, knows something they're not supposed to, or in the wrong place at the wrong time, and this could have definitely just been an instance for Cora's case.
Another theory that Nikki and I have is a little bit of a stretch, but definitely possible. It's that Timothy O'Leary and Larry Ralston actually ended up working together. We know that Cora and Timothy lived on the same street as Larry, and Timothy and Larry could have met and become friends, had the same mutual distaste for Cora, and both worked together. We know that Timothy was toxic and abusive towards Cora, and if Larry had previous murder victims, then he could have had the expertise that followed along with the case. And this sort of shows us how some things match with Larry and some things could possibly link Timothy.
So on the right-hand side is Detective Sean Embleton. He's the lead investigator on this case, and this case is in the hands of the Warren County Sheriff's Office. Currently, the case is active and open, so unfortunately, he hasn't been able to reveal a lot of information to us, but that's totally okay because on the left-hand side, we have Teresa Ellis, and she is the sister of Cora. She is the biggest advocate for Cora. She has given us so much information, and we are eternally grateful for that, and we just are giving our hopes and prayers towards Teresa and the rest of her family to get more answers.
As we come to a close, we'd like to leave you with one more thing. As we updated and discussed with Teresa about all the information and evidence that we had, we listened to her and wanted to remind you exactly why we're here tonight. This entire presentation is to make sure that we bring light back into Cora Durham's name and make sure that she will forever be remembered. We knew we made an impact when we were on the call with Teresa and she said this.
You girls at your school have paid more attention to the law. You know, to take you young ladies to care so much when nobody else has. It just touches my heart.
And that is exactly why we're here tonight.
And actually, in the audience tonight, we have family members of Cora Durham, and especially Teresa Ellis, Cora's sister and her biggest advocate. Also in the audience is Hope Dudley. She's the founder of You Can Speak For Me, made after her son, who also tragically passed away. These people are our why, and they're the reason we investigated into this case.
If you have any information regarding Cora's case, please contact the Warren County Sheriff's Office at 513-695-1280.
If you have any questions, please feel free to ask right now.
My name is Hope Dudley. We do play in courts of unsolved homicides that are in every Southwest prison in Ohio. And they do have a hotline number in the prison where you possibly could call and see if anybody got tips or anything on any cold cases. We did a flyer of unsolved homicide with all the women, and Cora was on the flyer and in the card. So they are in all the prisons in Ohio, because we know that inmates do talk, and Crime Stoppers is offering a $2,500 reward to inmates that give any tips on any kind of homicide.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Was Larry's first murder victim Cora, or was it the other?
So we don't know for sure like the order of his victims, but we do know that Cora was most likely either the first or like one of his first. So we also kind of questioned that a little bit, because a lot of killers, serial killers in fact, they're kind of like patterns of killing, or like their MOs or their demographics, they kind of change over time with their victims. So potentially maybe he realized an older woman maybe wasn't his preferred demographic right now.
If it was Larry Ralston.
Yeah.
And also, I believe Larry Ralston admitted to all of his other crimes.
The first one he admitted to, I know, was the earliest one was September of 1975. So a couple months before Cora. Yeah.
You said that the kid, son, was he like reliable contacted, or?
When speaking to some of the family members, we also asked, because we would have loved to have been in touch with him, but he's dealing with his own grief in his own way, and he just isn't really someone who's up for the questions, and we totally respected that.
Is there still a fingernail that you said you mentioned?
So, I'm not very sure. A lot of investigators, like, one said that there was a fingernail, came back inconclusive. Another one said that there was never a fingernail in the first place, so we would not know.
Thank you very much.